Dang it, absolute values. Why you always gotta be like this? Anyway, this is an example that we have visited in the past, and we figured out how to work out the value of this definite integral that's sitting behind me using areas. Got the graph sketched out right here just as a bit of a reminder. We had some triangles, that kind of thing. I wanted to investigate how you would do this analytically using the fundamental theorem because it follows that sort of running theme of absolute values to be so intuitive, it feels like we always end up jumping through hoops when we need to deal with them. So the graph is actually kind of gonna guide us in terms of what we got to do here. The catch is we can't just sort of pass an antiderivative through those absolute value bars. Please don't just tell me that this is the absolute value of 1/2 x squared minus 3x. You can't go that way. You've got to be a little more careful. And the taking care starts with figuring out how to split this thing up so we can work through stuff using the math operations that we generally need to use with absolute values. So you'll notice the graph is the kind of V for victory thing you expect out of absolute value functions. It touches down on the axis at x equals 3. You could also just set this thing equal to 0 and solve for x if you're not a picture fan. So we're going to need to use that splitting property for definite integrals that we saw when we first introduced them in order to break this thing apart. So here's my plan. So I'm going to fill in the blank in a minute, but we need one definite integral running from 1 up to 3 to the breakpoint. Then we'll need another definite integral going from 3 to 5. So we have two separate definite integrals. We're using that splitting property to add together the results. Each of these separate integrals we're going to be able to work out using the fundamental theorem. So relax, we got that coming. The catch is how we write what's going inside each of these things. Okay, I'm going to deal with this one first because he's the easy one. On this side of our breakpoint from 3 to 5, what's sitting inside these absolute value bars is going to be positive if you plug in 3.5 or 4, something in between those two. So taking the absolute value doesn't really do anything. We just get x minus 3 back. So he looks pretty easy to work with. What's going in here is not that much harder to work with, but we do have to be careful about it, because from 1 to 3, anything we plug into this stuff inside the bars is going to be negative, like 2 minus 3 is negative 1, right? So remember, to take the absolute value of something that's negative, we can't just say, we'll make it positive. We need to introduce a math operation that does that. What we usually do is use negation. So from 1 to 3, that thing is going to look like negative quantity x minus 3, or negative x plus 3 if you prefer. All right. Now, each of these guys is not that painful to work out on its own, so let's dig in. An antiderivative here, thanks to that minus out front, is going to look like negative 1/2 x squared plus 3x. Fundamental theorem says we need to evaluate this thing at each endpoint, take the difference. So, as usual, I denote that like so. This guy, we don't have that minus sign out front. Remember, this is a plus in the middle because of the splitting property. This isn't part of the fundamental theorem. Don't think that needs to be a minus. Okay. The good news is we've already done the hard work, really, because the only difference between these two antiderivatives is that negative sign. So, all right. So now from here, we've got to plug in some numbers. And I totally understand if you work out the individual values and have like decimals or something. I get it. I'm a math teacher, so I'm playing around with these like old school. So when I plug 3 into this thing, I get negative 9/2 plus 9. I plug in 1, and that's going to be a subtraction, so I have minus negative 1/2 plus 3. So that's this first bit. Plus, on this end, when I plug in 5, I get 25 halves out of the first term, minus 15 out of the second. I'm starting to drift down the board. I can see the space growing. So then I plug in 3, and I'm actually going to have the opposite of this thing. So 9/2 minus 9 hovering around right there. All right. So short story long, there's a lot of arithmetic that ends up going into this. I worked it out kind of in chunks. This first bit here, I ended up getting, let's see, -4 when I put together the two fractions, because that's -8/2. Then 9 minus 3 gives me 6. 25/2 minus 9/2 is 16/2, so that gives me +8. -15 minus a -9, that leaves a -6. Hey, look, +6 minus 6, they go poof. -4 plus 8, and our definite integral value ends up being 4, which, if you go back, should match up with what we got when we did this thing with the two triangles. So, all right. So again, absolute values. Be careful when these come up. Look for breakpoints. Split the integral up. So if you remember those moves and then how we interpret absolute values, not just make it positive, you should be safe. All right. So that's the fundamental theorem. We've actually covered everything we're going to cover out of chapter 5 at this point. So surprisingly enough, we are down to a single section of content left in this course. So I'll leave you with a sort of a warm, fuzzy feeling over that.